Last year and the first half of this year, both Nick and I visited several classes and were watching teachers. And something really stands out time after time, and that is giving directions. Activities, fantastic activities, but if the students are, uncomfortable or don't understand or are confused, you waste so much time and it really destroys the whole atmosphere that you're trying to establish. And there are some things that we need to keep in mind, things that most of you are aware of anyway, but we seem to lose track of it when we get caught up in the class. First thing, and you can get this on any teacher training site, the first thing when you start an activity or such, or even the class, why? Why are you doing this? The students need some guidance in terms of, we're doing this stupid thing, why are we doing it? If you start with why, they're a little more, okay, now we know what we're focused on and what we're supposed to do. I was talking with Justin earlier, in the old days, when you went into the Army, you were in basic training, the first thing, well not the first thing, but one of the first things you did was you were marched out into a field and your sergeant said, here's a shovel, dig a hole. Okay, dig a hole. Dig it faster. Dig it deeper. Without explaining why. So it was like, I'm digging a hole. But once it was explained that, okay, in the old days, shells would come in, artillery shells would come in. When they hit the ground, they would explode, and little pieces of metal that were very harmful to humans would scatter across the ground. But if you're below ground, they pass harmlessly overhead. But if you stick your head up, or if you're standing up, sure enough, the little pieces of metal might harm you. So in other words, the purpose was there. And all of a sudden, digging a hole became more important in language learning. Why are we doing this, teacher? This is boring. Well, you're doing it to practice. We're preparing for this. We're getting you warmed up for the topic. You're going to implement what you've learned in situations. Explain it briefly. You don't have to go into huge, long, like I just did. You just very simply say, why are we doing this? And then, who are you going to do it with? You go into class, okay, get in pairs. That, to me, I watched this so many times. Yes, get into pairs, but what happens? I don't want to be with him. Oh, I want to be with him. And it's this, there's a time-consuming, let's all, sort ourselves out, friends, whatever. If it's clear, if you can make it clear that, okay, 2, 2, 2, 2, you save so much time and you save so much misunderstanding or even hard feelings. Because sometimes, Nick's sitting by himself. Now, is Nick going to join in with one of these three? And what if they want to be together and they don't like Nick? No, you simplify things. Simplify, simplify. Who are you going to do it with? In groups of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Quickly. Think about it this way. How long are our classes? 45 minutes. Wrong. You come into class, what's the first thing you do? Attendance. Okay, how long does attendance take? Maybe 30 seconds to a minute, right? Okay, so your classes aren't 45, they're a minimum or a maximum of like 44, unless you've got an innovative way of taking attendance.
And cables.
Cables? Yeah, I was going to say the same thing.
The what?
Plugging in the cables.
Oh, the cables, yes, technology, I'm sorry. I wasn't supposed to say nasty things about technology. But yes, the student, the teacher comes in, and what happens, you're, on a good day, you plug it in, you open it, it works. On a bad day, you plug it in, you open it up, and you're fussing. So let's get it down to maybe 42 minutes. If your instructions, if in order for you to get the students to carry, to the point where they're ready to follow your instructions, if it takes more than 3 or 4 minutes, that's 10% of your class. That's a lot. Why are we doing this? Who are you going to do it with? Then, what do you need? Get in pairs. Oh, by the way, do you need a piece of paper? Do you need your book? Do you, what do you need? What is the expected, what am I supposed to do with whatever I've got? And what am I supposed to come up with at the end? All of these things you have to take into consideration when you're giving instructions. There were a couple videos that I watched that were wonderful. Okay, everybody get into pairs and write. I want you to write a 3-pair, on page 12 you have a brief reading. I want you to read that, talk together about it, write a short little response about, 200 words, give it to me at the end of class, thank you.
Which one first?
And the students, you watch the students in the classroom like, what did you say? You're talking in English, I hope. They're listening, and remember, their English isn't exactly perfect. If you're speaking like that, trying to save less than 10% of your time, on instructions, you're speaking quickly, they're like, and they've got, Hojam, nay, what are we supposed to do, how are we supposed to do it, and there's more questions. Okay, the last thing is, how long do I have to do it? Set limits, so they know what time they've got. Put it together this way. You are prepping for your class tomorrow. You want them to do an activity, whatever it is. Start from the beginning. In a way, work your way backwards. What is it you really want them to accomplish? A suggestion, a lot of times, Farouk gets them into pairs and Farouk says, I want you to talk to each other for a few minutes. Yada, 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 who cares? Yeah, I'll talk to Cici. Hi Cici, what you doing? Yeah, I'll even do it in Turkish, I don't care. But if there's an outcome, I'm looking for, okay, you two talk together. At the end of the time, I'm going to ask you what she said, or I'm going to do something, but you need some product at the end. If you say, get into groups of 3, come up with ideas about the text or questions you have for Bill Gates, whatever, and they write it down, take that paper. That's a product. And if they know that their teacher is going to take it, look at their names on the top and read it, you don't have to grade it, you don't have to do anything. But if they know that you're going to take it and you're going to put it in a little box or whatever it is, it means something to them. It gains more, clout. I don't know. It's got more something. Anyway, now then, what do I want them to do? Now, how do I want them to do it? Do I want them to do it in pairs or in 3? What tools will I let them use? Do they need a text? Am I going to give it to them? Is it their book? Do I want them to fill out a form? Are they going to need a piece of paper to write on? Put all this down for yourself. Make your notes and then go back and say, okay, number 1, we're going to do an activity. Why? Number 2, what will you need to take with you? Who will you do it with? So now then you've got, let's say you need your textbook, a paper and a pen, okay? Who you're going to do it with, a group of 3, a group of 4, a group of 2, by yourself. What are you going to do, and what is the expected outcome? It sounds so simple, but it's not. And what happens is, you know, like Leaf and Celine, they've got these wonderful activities, fantastic. And you go, okay, get into pairs. Oh, and remember to bring your pencil. Oh, and you're constantly shifting, and it ends up being more confusion, and the students aren't sure what really they're supposed to do, why they're supposed to do it, and what product you're looking for. Really work it out. If you have to, one of the things they said constantly was, if it's something, especially with your lower level students, make it either a PowerPoint or a chart, draw it on the board, do this, do this, do this, and wait after each instruction so that they know. You can see, like, I don't understand. If they've got a question, they do it then. Your language. I get frustrated. I was looking at the instructions in the book. I don't like the book. I don't like the instructions. But sometimes you can't. I mean, they expect you to understand things. Instructions. There's 3 sentences. It says, use the dictionary definitions to help you decide which sentences are possible. Mark the sentences with a tick or a cross. Now, you look at me and you say, well, what's the problem? If you're a second language learner, mark the sentences. Okay, which sentences with a tick or a cross? What's the meaning behind a tick or a cross? You say, well, that's obvious, Hojan. A tick is for correct and a cross is for wrong. Really? Every year we have students from abroad or from other countries, African nations, Asian nations, that come here. The Turkish people are used to forms and testing and multiple choice and put your name, fill in the little squares and everything. Those students are not. To assume that people know the difference between a tick and a cross, and an American, what's a tick? A tick's a little bug that bites you and you hate it. A check mark. So make sure that your students understand everything. Adjust your language. Be careful with everything. I know it's a pain in the neck. You work so hard to make those activities. But if the students don't understand the instructions or they get all confused, they'll go and blow it off. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. I just want to thank Elif, Salim, and Richard. They were nice enough to take some time and prepare these things, and also to come up and talk in front of you nice people. So please again, just give them a round of applause.